Modern gaming is a subject that creates a big divide in the gaming world nowadays. If I were to give you guys a definition of modern gaming to me, it would be a combination of competitiveness, cheating, microtransactions, expensive games, too much focus on graphics, less on quality, and also just laziness at some points. And what if I told you that all of these problems, I mean, to many they are problems, but what if I told you that all of these problems in modern gaming and modern gaming in general aren't actually the problem, but the real problem is actually you? And don't take it in an offensive way, but just hear me out for a second. What I mean by that is that these factors that I just mentioned from modern gaming are affecting you to have a great time. Now, as we all know, I'm also an old school gamer, and I do find enjoyment in the old games from the PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 era. But I also find enjoyment in the new era. I also found enjoyment in the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One era, in the same way that I find enjoyment in the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X era. But as we all know, nostalgia is a hell of a drug. And there is always this feeling when we go back and play these games that we just can't stop having. But associated with this nostalgia, there's always a quote that I always use to actually elaborate a bit on it, which is that games can be remastered, but they can't be relived. And what I mean by that is that if I were now to go on and turn on my PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2 and play a title from that era, I would be able to immerse myself in the same way as I were back then, but my span on that game would be minimal. I think I'm talking about maybe 10 to 15 minutes on playing it, for example, jumping on Spyro on PlayStation 1, and then it would be like 5 to 10 minutes in, I would already just turn the game off. And for that simple reason that I can immerse myself in the world, but I've already played it previously. And then again, a factor here is not that you don't have freedom to play it. A factor here is not that it's not nostalgic enough for you. It is. The factor here is that, first of all, you don't have enough time, and second of all, you have already been through it in your childhood. So it doesn't really appeal to you in the same way anymore. It doesn't really give you the same vibes it used to do, and therefore a lot of the excitement is just gone. Now, another aspect of it that I also find really important is that you don't have anyone to play it with. In my childhood, I grew up with a twin brother, meaning that both of us would always play video games together. We would always play single-player games together. We would always play split-screen. But the main point here is that we would play the video games together. And that's the key point when I'm trying to talk about regarding nostalgia and regarding gaming in general, which is the social aspect of it. And you can't really neglect it. I mean, as much as some of you like to be lonely gamers and want to immerse yourself in your own little worlds, we can't neglect the fact that we as human beings need to socialize to feel healthy, to be able to work properly, and etc. And that is something that I think a lot of people neglect when it comes to nostalgia, which is that the social aspect played a huge part in it. For me, it was when it came to completing these PlayStation 1 games like Spyro, Tekken, Crash. It was a different vibe to it when I used to do it with my brother. In the same way, when we used to play the fighting games on PlayStation 2, such as Dragon Ball, it was a different vibe to it when you actually had someone nearby who actually had the same opinions as you. Now, when the 360 and the PlayStation 3 era came along, it became a lot more popular to play multiplayer games. And here, the communities themselves made the games fun, because you would always interact with people when you played. And that is kind of the thing that I'm trying to tell you guys, that the social aspect of video games is what actually makes them fun. And I'll give you a really good example on a modern game with this. And it's a game that I still enjoy playing to this day. I remember when Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 got made back in 2022. And a lot of people were hyped for the game, and when it came out, people called it the worst COD ever made. But if I have to be honest with you guys, I think it is one of the most fun CODs I've ever been playing, and if not in the same category as the OG Call of Duty games from 2008 to 2012 or 13, I would at least say that it's better than all of the modern CODs that came after Black Ops 3. And for that simple reason that I could actually enjoy the game with my friends. So what we would do is that I had this friend group of 4 to 5 people where we would just say, you know what guys, I have an idea. Like, why don't we just all decide just to camp on these maps when we play multiplayer? And that is what we actually did. So we went into every single map with our camping gear on and camped for 2 to 3 hours on every map, trying our best to win as much as we could. And funny thing here is that we would piss off the opponent's team. To a lot of people who are first-person shooter fans, something like that would be considered pathetic. But for me and my friends, that was something we just enjoyed. We just enjoyed having a weekend off where we could just hop in, having some beers to drink, talking together, while at the same time just having a laugh, playing on a video game that actually to many people didn't do pretty well when it came to the meta tactics, but were actually pretty fun when you decided to just camp and piss people off. And that is another major point as well. We just didn't take the game that serious. We didn't take it that serious to try to be competitive. And again, it's just one example because that was a game from 2022 and we were still able to enjoy it more than any of the cuts that you had from the mid-2010s. And I also have other examples of it. I have examples of us playing Warhammer Vermintide 2 in 2023 for the first time and still enjoy it more than people actually did back in 2018. Another great example is Back 4 Blood, which we all know was supposed to be a successful successor to Left 4 Dead 1 and Left 4 Dead 2. Now, I'm a big Left 4 Dead fan, and I know that Back 4 Blood never came close to it, but I still managed to have fun with my friends on it when we tried to glitch our way through the maps and try to abuse the game's mechanics to progress throughout the story. So it's just a way to tell you guys that the social aspect of video games plays a major role in you actually enjoying them. In the same way that if I were to play a PlayStation 3 game now, or any new game that involves a single player title, no matter how good it is, I simply wouldn't be able to complete it on my own, simply because I find a hard time in trying to level up my character. I find a hard time in trying to give him the best gear, simply because I'm doing that in real life. I'm leveling up myself in the gym, I'm leveling up myself in the job market. So a lot of that have kind of just faded away with time. So for me, I mostly just find enjoyment in multiplayer games, and primarily also just in co-op games, where the social aspect with the friends there is the major point keeping me wanting to play them. Then again, I think most of you who don't really enjoy playing with other people, who just want to play for yourself, yeah, I don't see a problem with it. You also have decent single player games coming out, new ones for those kind of people. But I mean, there's still kind of a way where the social aspect still kicks in a way that you want to share your recorded clips or your recorded videos with you playing that game to the social network. So again, there you already see the thing that I'm trying to talk about, that the social aspects play a major role in you enjoying the games, regardless of which era they come from. Another example that I'll give you is the new Halo game, which is the remake of Halo Combat Evolved. I always enjoyed playing Combat Evolved with my friends back in the days, but if you were to make me go and play the Halo Combat Evolved campaign on my own again, I would just say no, simply because I don't find enjoyment in it. Would I play it with a friend of mine on a Saturday night? Yes, I would. But I've always said, just as everyone else around me, that Combat Evolved would actually be a lot more fun if it had 4-player co-op. And that is one thing that gets me excited for the campaign Evolved that is gonna drop in 2026, simply because you get to play the best Halo game with 4 friends. And that to me is what gaming should be about. It should be about the social aspect. It should be a chill room for you to turn off from the real world and to actually have fun with your friends. And to some of you who actually struggle to play online with people, some of you who struggle to find people, I just want to say that I've also lost a few online friends to play with who I actually enjoyed playing with quite a lot, and they just left simply because they had other things to do in life, or just because we parted ways because we weren't getting along anymore. But when I look back at what I miss, I would still say that I miss the social aspect. What I'm trying to say is, for some of you guys that are looking for social friends on these video games, some of us are still there who actually want to talk and want to have a laugh while playing, but we're just not always there, simply because life kicks in and people want to do other stuff. Yeah, so to turn back what I was talking about, I don't think that modern gaming is the problem per se. I think the problem is people, that people can't socialize anymore, and they can't really try to find the fun in new games when they're actually there. Anyways guys, that's all I had to say. If you're new to the channel, like, comment and subscribe. I'm gonna hop on the most hated Call of Duty and camp a bit with my friends. Bye.